Okay, let's start then. Hello everyone. Thank you for joining this session. Today we'll be sharing how AstraZeneca leverages advanced AI infrastructure, specifically Kubeflow and Kubernetes, to accelerate drug discovery and development. Before we dive into it, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Nithin, and with me is Shrinidhi. We work for AstraZeneca's AI platform, and under that, I work as infra lead for Kubernetes management team called Azimuth. And Srinidhi work enterprise platform support engineer and a seasonal MLOps engineer. So this is what we are going to cover. We will start with AI infrastructure at AstraZeneca, how we are sharing volumes across multiple Kubeflow profiles, what is the need of building custom images of using VS Code over code server, what is the use of self-hosted runners and image governance using Kyverno. Finally, Srinidhi will be covering a couple of business use cases from Center of Artificial Intelligence team, and we will end up with GreenOps initiatives. Our mission is to build robust and scalable machine learning platform in cloud native environment, and thus we build an in-house machine learning platform called Azimuth. Here, the primary component is Kubeflow for end-to-end machine learning lifecycle, and we use weights and biases for ML tracking experiments and model registries. And in terms of LLM ops, we primarily use VLLM production stack. From ArgoCD, we'll be referring to VLLM production stack Helm chart, and in the model spec, we'll be referring to the internal JFrog artifactory to download the models. And for GPU orchestration, we use NVIDIA GPU operator. And for LLM traces and evaluations, we are planning to explore about LangFuse. Coming to sustainability, uh, we just started exploring about GreenOps framework, and Srinidhi will be covering in upcoming slides. Coming to governance, we use Prometheus and Kyverno. And for Prometheus, we use alerting systems like if pod is restarted so many times, or if pod is not scheduled for more than 1 hour, and if Kubeflow pipelines fails, we'll be sending email notifications and Teams notification to the respective namespace owners. Coming to IDE, we use both CPU and GPU based custom images using the latest image of NVIDIA and CUDA images. And in general, the ML engineers at AstraZeneca prefer VS Code, and data analysts prefer Jupyter Lab, and our programmers prefer RStudio. And to provision a relational database, we primarily use Cloud Native PG. And to provision vector database, we use PG Vector. And for graph databases, we use Apache Edge. So we combined all these three as a package via CNPG operator extensions. And then on top of it, we have deployed PG Bouncer to handle more concurrent users. And for distributed model training, we primarily use Qflow jobs like PyTorch jobs, Falconer jobs, and MPI jobs. Along with that, we have deployed Qbray, Spark, and Paddle operator as well. Coming to storages to handle big data and terabytes of data, we use NetApp FSx storages, and then uh, to store Docker images, we use internal Harbor registry. To monitor GPU utilizations and Qflow pipelines, we use Grafana UI, and for application logging, we use ELK stack. And for ETL jobs, we use Qflow pipelines, and the people who are convenient in Kubernetes and YAML, they prefer Argo Workflows. So we have deployed dedicated Argo Workflow server also. And for hyperparameter tuning, users use Catib and the weights and biases sweeps. Coming to CI/CD, for continuous integrations, we have deployed self-hosted GitHub runners, and for continuous delivery, we have ArgoCD. And for users to deploy advanced deployment strategy like Canary and Blue Green, we have deployed rollout extensions along with ArgoCD. And we just started exploring about high performance computing. For that, we are exploring about Slinky, which is which is to integrate Slurm with Kubernetes. And also we are also exploring about Slurm Bridge, which is a Slurm based Kubernetes scheduler, and the Nextflow is for computational orchestrations. And we have deployed Azimuth and all this stack in a vanilla Kubernetes. and that is maintained by a separate team called CNP at AstraZeneca. Okay, sometimes user needs to share their model outputs to different namespaces or different profiles. So in that case, we use Trident to achieve that one. So here Trident act as a intermediate layer between primary namespace, secondary namespace, and actual storages. To achieve this, it involves three steps. The first step is to create a persistent volume claim in namespace 1 and annotate that persistent volume claim with Trident of share to namespace equal to namespace 2. Similarly, create a persistent volume claim in namespace 2 and annotate that PVC with Trident and of share from PVC equal to namespace 1 slash PVC1. And final step is to deploy Trident volume reference for cross namespace volume sharing. Okay. For custom IDE, we have two approaches. The first approach is the default one, that is uh, like using code server, we'll be downloading and setting up the tools and then running the code server. The problem is with this approach is we cannot use few extensions like GitHub Copilot and the Kubernetes extension like that. So for that, we have another approach using VS Code, official VS Code. So in this case, instead of downloading the tools and softwares from code server, we are downloading the uh, tools and softwares from official visualstudio.com and then setting up the Nginx reverse proxy to redirect the route from port number 8888 to the port number 8000. And why we need self-hosted runner is to trigger namespaced Kubeflow pipelines. We have deployed self-hosted runners by setting up the service account to default editor of runner deployment. And for scaling self-hosted runners, we used horizontal runner autoscaler. We are also exploring about GPU-based self-hosted runner using NVIDIA images to do the unit testings and running the GPU-based workloads. And coming to securities, we use Kyverno. We just started using about Kyverno. So a couple of use cases. The first one is uh, we are uh, we are preventing the users from pulling the images from outside like a Docker Hub or any external registry. And second use case is we are trying to limit the number of workbenches a user can create in a specific namespaces. So that is the second use cases. Okay, so regarding the business use cases, I'll hand over to Srinidhi.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Nathan. Hello everyone. So coming to the more interesting part. How is Kubeflow used in and how does it make a difference in the pharma sector? First use case we'll be going through the automated cough counting algorithm. So automated cough counting algorithm, it's a computational tool that leverages a combination of machine learning, deep learning, and signal processing techniques to accurately detect and count cough events from audio recordings. The ACCA is designed to provide an efficient method for quantifying the cough occurrences and audio recordings to automate the enumeration of cough. So this algorithm, it's designed to reduce the cost and the time expenses used for train the humans to listen and annotate the cough recordings. Its purpose is to provide robust and efficient and measurement capabilities and support the use of objective cough frequency as a valid component in the clinical trials. There are two kinds of datasets that's being used in the ACCA, in training the ACCA. One dataset which contains 181 24-hour recordings, which is more than 80,000 cough events in total. And there are three AstraZeneca datasets, which contains a total of 638 24-hour recordings with greater than 160,000 cough events. The ACCA models and training inference is triggered through multiple pipelines defined using Kubeflow pipelines within Azimuth. Um, Nathan, could you go to the next slide? So in this slide, you can see a huge pipeline, a huge graph. So let me break it down and explain further. The first is the data pre-processing step in any data science pipeline. That's the first step. So in this data pre-processing step, the script takes the config file, which contains the location of the raw 24-hour cough recording, and runs two pre-processing steps. The first pre-processing step is to generate features. This step converts the recording audio data into a spectrogram feature that has all the features and their metadata into ARC and SCP files. The next step is in pre-processing is to create bootstrapped training data folds as well as validation and test folds from the features. After the data pre-processing pipeline, first comes the compression model with training and inference. So whenever there is a new data set or the model architecture has been updated, we need to train the ensemble models on the new pre-processed data and run inference and something on the test set to produce training data for the next step. The next step is the cough counting model. So this compression compression model, it has a pipeline that trains 20 models that are part of the ensemble, trained on 20 G5 8x large nodes, which is around 1 GPU in parallel on the pre-processed data for approximately 6 to 10 days, and then performs inference using 20 models on 20 G58X large nodes in parallel for approximately 4 hours for all the models using the holdout test set, then uses the majority voting by ensembling methods performed on the default node for approximately less than 5 minutes to get the final set of compressed audio files with just the cough events. These files form as the input for the next stage. The next stage is the counting model and inference. This has a very similar process, but just different timing and different input. Here, the input is the compressed audio files from the compression algorithm. So, this pipeline trains 20 models that are part of the ensemble, trained on 20 G5 8x large nodes in parallel on the pre-processed data for approximately 12 hours, and then performs inference using 20 models on 20 G5 8x large nodes in parallel for approximately 1 hour for all the models using the holdout test set, and then uses the majority voting by ensembling methods performed on the default node for approximately less than 5 minutes to get the final set of the cough count. So, next slide. So here you can see three images explaining these three steps. The first image, it shows the pre-processing step that creates the multiple bootstrapped training data folds as well as validation and test folds. The second image, it shows the formats in which the data is stored. First, the data wave file contains the raw audio signal of the cough events. The model is not directly trained on the audio signal. The wave files are pre-processed by decomposing the original audio signal, into constituent frequency components using the fast Fourier transform. This information is mapped into an audio MEL spectrogram, which is essentially a 3D image. So in this 3D image, time as the x-axis, discrete frequency band y-axis, and the intensity of the signal at a particular time and frequency denoted as a pixel value. The third image, you can see these spectrograms is given as input into the convolution neural network and video transformer architectures. So the data loaders are able to locate the exact position of the features in these ARC files using metadata for each of the wave file and produce the spectrogram and its corresponding label using model training. The data loading pre-processing, training, hyperparameter tuning, all of these steps are performed using Kubeflow pipelines. The model management and performance evaluation is uh, is performed using a license tool which is integrated into Azimuth. This license tool is called Weights and Biases or WANDB. Next slide. So in this slide, we'll be explaining about the next use case, automated hit selection from high throughput data. So before we go into detail of this, first I'd like to explain what is hit selection. So let's take a fun example to explain this. So imagine you're looking for a key to open a locked door, but you have thousands of keys to try. Instead of testing every single key one by one, you have a special tool that lets you quickly check which keys might fit in. So, similarly, when scientists look for new medicine, they face a similar problem. Even thousands or millions of chemical compounds, they want to find the ones that help treat a particular disease. Hit selection is the process of picking out those first few keys, or in this case, chemical compounds, that show some promise. They might not open the door perfectly, but they seem like they could fit. So that is these are the components or the keys that are worth trying to open. After finding these hits, scientists focus on the next steps, trying to improve them into medicine that work better and are safe for the people. So hit selection is just about finding which keys are worth testing further as possible new drugs. So let's go now to the textbook definition. Hit selection refers to the process of choosing potential drug candidate based on various criteria such as their potency, toxicity, permeability, solubility, selectivity at desired pharmaceutical targets, and physiochemical properties that impact pharmacokinetics and drug safety. So here in our case, there are around 1 million antibodies. We want to identify the top 100 antibodies or drug candidates that have the best predicted binding with the target disease. This is done using machine learning techniques, using Kubeflow pipelines in Azimuth. Um, Next slide. So in this also, in this slide, you can see the, uh, the different parts of the pipeline involved. The first step, as in any data science pipeline, is the data pre-processing step. Then comes model training, and then model inference, and then the final selection. So I'll explain in detail about each of these steps. The first is the data pre-processing step. So we get data from high throughput experiment for around 1 million antibodies. The data are time series for each antibody, a separate time series. The time series represent a property called binding between the antibody, that is the potential drug candidate, and the antigen that is related to the disease. We process this data file to fit the format to perform machine learning training on it. We aggregate the measurements of same antibodies, scale the measurements, and remove unnecessary data points. Um, After this step comes the ML model training. We train three different machine learning models on the time series. So here in the diagram itself, you can see three different models in the chart form. Using the antibody, we can learn to predict the time series from the experiment. Next is model inference. After we train the ML models, we predict for new antibodies the time series, the information of binding between the antibody and the antigen. The predictions of the ML models are less noisy than the original measurement from the high throughput experiment. This is called denoising. After training an ML model on the high throughput experiment, we improve the signal of our data, that is, our ability to predict if an antibody interacts with an antigen. Uh, the next step is the final selection. In the final selection, we have a component that assess the model training. That is the quality control component here in the image. We have a couple of metrics from which we infer if the model training was successful, and then we combine the prediction from the ML model inference. So basically, for from the 1 million antibodies, we want to identify the top 100 antibodies or the drug candidates that have the best predicted binding. This is in general not straightforward since the high throughput experiment is noisy. In the sense, not everything has high measurement and high throughput experiment. It's actually the binder, that is the antibody interacting with the antigen. So not everything is a binder. We are trying to find out the binder using the machine learning techniques. For this, we use Kubeflow. Um, could you go to the next slide? So in this slide, you can see the whole process being performed on a Kubeflow pipeline. There is this train step here, train CNN model, and the inference step, quality control step, the ensembling, the ranking, and another quality control step. So yeah, this is the whole process of uh, heat selection that is performed using Kubeflow pipelines in Azimuth. Um, the next slide. GreenOps initiatives. So GreenOps initiatives is something that we are yet to implement in Azimuth in AstraZeneca. So AstraZeneca's ambition for zero carbon strategy to eliminate carbon emissions by 2025 and be carbon negative across the entire value chain by 2030. In order to align with this ambition, in Azimuth team, we are planning to implement these GreenOps initiatives in from the Kubernetes platform level. So we are planning to implement this using three tools: KEDA, KubeGreen, and Wasm. KEDA, as you know, the full form of KEDA is Kubernetes Event Driven Autoscaler. This can be a valuable tool for event driven scaling, as the name suggests. KEDA allows applications to dynamically adjust their resources based on actual demand, which can lead to reduced energy consumption and cost savings. This approach is particularly relevant for applications with fluctuating workloads and those relying on messages, queues, and all other such event sources. The next one we are planning to use is KubeGreen. KubeGreen is a Kubernetes operator designed to enhance the cloud sustainability by reducing resource consumption in non production environments. It achieves this by automatically suspending some default pods like ML pipeline UI artifact and ML pipeline visualization server. These pods are set to sleep when not in use based on predefined schedules. This helps minimize the energy usage and reduce CO2 footprint and the associated costs during the off peak hours. The next tool that we're planning to use is Wasm. Wasm, its full form, as everyone knows, is WebAssembly. Wasm lets you run code written in languages like Rust, C, and Go securely and efficiently with the potential for better resource usage. Traditionally, applications run in containers like Docker in Kubernetes. Wasm offers other advantages like lightweight, security, and speed. It offers like lightweight because a smaller footprint compared to traditional containers, so you can run more tasks with less resource consumption. Security. Wasm sandbox execution reduces attack surface. Speed. Near native execution based on fast startup, useful for event-driven workloads. These features can help us GreenOps be enabling more efficient resources use and reduce the overhead. Suppose you have a workload that analyzes energy consumption data. You write the analysis module in Rust for efficiency and compile it to Wasm. Deploy it inside Kubernetes using Wasm runtime like Wasm Edge or Crustlet. Kubernetes schedules the Wasm job just like the containerized job, but with lower overhead and higher density, more jobs per node. You monitor resource usage and can scale the workloads based on efficiency. This is mostly all we had.
Yep, that's it from our side.
Perfect. Okay, fantastic. So there is a question for you in the Q&A section on this platform. And I want to thank you. It was a fantastic presentation. Thank you so much. So we will do a short break. So please take the opportunity to have water or a tea or coffee or just stretch your legs. We'll see you in 5 minutes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thanks, everyone.